Good evening, families. This is Mr. Hicks, your principal at Stafford High School. I'm very excited about our evening tonight. We have several special guests that will be working with us tonight and answering questions. They're very important members of our community. And our goal tonight is to educate our students not only on Black History Month, but how people in our community can be successful and also provide guidance for our young people. It's very important for us as we go through this year with a lot of ups and downs to provide students with opportunities to not only be successful in the classroom, but also look up to folks that have done so much in our community to support everybody in our community, because at Stafford High School, all of our students are important. And we thank tonight from having the benefit to listen to some community members and some things that they've grown up doing to help them be more successful in our community. It's going to help our students be more successful, not only now, but in their future. So the way tonight's going to work, in a minute, I'm going to let our special guests introduce themselves. But we have our assistant principals here, Ms. Shardy Elliott, Mr. Benjamin Diggs, and Dr. Christopher Quinn, who is also a very important part of our administration team here at Stafford High School. And they are, along with me, will be asking questions. So we're going to kick off the night by, I'm going to let the special guests introduce themselves, and they're just going to explain what their job title is and what their role in the community they serve. So I will go ahead and let them get started on that. And again, I would like to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to a fantastic evening. So Ms. Jones, you can start.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hicks. Hello, everyone. I am Christie Jones. I am a school counselor here in Stafford County Public Schools. I have been at Hampton Oaks Elementary School for the last 7 years, but I have actually worked in Stafford County for the past 18 years. It'll be 19 in August, and I am glad to be here tonight.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am Delegate Josh Cole, and I represent the 28th House District. That's portions of Stafford County and the city of Fredericksburg. I grew up in Stafford County Public Schools and graduated from North Stafford High in 2009, and I'm super excited to be here with you all tonight.
Thank you and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deuntay Diggs. I am a lieutenant with the Stafford County Sheriff's Office, and I am assigned to the Special Operations Division as the Assistant Division Commander. And I serve and protect the citizens of Stafford County, and it is an honor to be here with you all tonight. Thank you.
We're glad to have you, Mr. Diggs.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. By telephone, Vice Mayor Chuck Frye Jr. from the city of Fredericksburg, also Ward 4 representative in the city of Fredericksburg. And I am also a product of the public schools, but the neighbor right across the bridge there, James Monroe High School, went to school with Mr. Hicks, actually, which is an honor to have Mr. Hicks serving as principal at Stafford. So congratulations to you, Mr. Hicks. But yeah, I'm Vice Mayor, Ward 4 City Councilman, and a lot of you guys, even though you can't see my face, probably know me from the UPS truck, because I was at Hampton Oaks Colonia Forge and all of that. I was delivery guy for about 10 years in Stafford. So thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you, Councilman Frye. So now we're going to start by each of us, assistant principals and principal. We have questions for our special guest tonight. So Dr. Quinn is going to start that off, and we're just going to go after Dr. Quinn gives his question. We're just going to go in the same order. Go ahead, Dr. Quinn.
Yes, this is very exciting. Nice to be with my colleagues and members of the community who can share their experience. The question that I have for each of the panelists would be, who did you look up to? I mean, think of it like a child. When you were a child, who did you look up to, and who were your role models, or who was a role model for you? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Dr. Quinn. For myself, my role models would be my parents. They both emphasize the importance of education. One side of my family did attain college degrees, the other did not. However, that did not stop them from making that a goal for their children. And so because of I was going to say pressure, but it wasn't really pressure, but because of the high standards that they instilled in my sister and I, it was non-negotiable to attain higher education. Because at the end of the day, the more education you have, the more freedom you have, and the more opportunities you'll have. Thank you.
Thank you. To me, I had two role models when I was growing up. Of course, everyone knows about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He was a great civil rights leader in the community. He was an astute Black man who was well read, and I aspired to be like him. And there was a few plays that we had at Drew Middle School where I actually got to portray Dr. King. So that was really awesome for me. But hitting close to home, one of the great role models was my godfather. He was my pastor at the time. His name was Bishop William Brown. Gave me my interest into church history, and also making sure that being a political leader and a community leader is what we were all about, as also being religious leaders. And so we lost him about 2 years ago, and I believe that I'm carrying on his legacy in everything that I'm doing today.
I would say that I have two role models growing up, people that I looked up to, and that would be my grandfather, Leroy Waters, and my grandmother, Ruth Waters. So as a child, I felt like I didn't have a voice, and music was my voice, and I could speak through music. And so my grandmother played the piano. My grandfather, he sang, and not only did he sing, but he was a pastor as well. And so those were my role models. And as I was growing up, I always thought back to my experiences in the church and watching them and wanting to emulate them.
Thank you. And my role models were actually, first and foremost, was my father. And excuse the noise real quick. All right. But my role model was my father, Charlie Frye Sr., and he's a Vietnam vet. And I learned so much from him by the things that he did out of his heart. He's a jack of all trades, and I saw him do so many things. And so many people, it wasn't always, the go-to folks in the community, but so many people relied on my father, and I learned so much just from watching him. So, and I grew up in the Mayfield community in the city of Fredericksburg, and I had to step, aside from my father and give a shout out to people like Herman K. Griffin, who, instrumental in a lot of folks in the city of Fredericksburg. Some people know him from WFDA doing broadcasting. And it's people like him, shop teacher Mr. Jimmy Taylor, who instilled, the point of that you can do a lot of things in this world. So I had to give those guys credit because I'm really I'm like a ball, almost like I'm like a piece of paper. It's a lot of people who influence me, but mainly just telling me that I could do better and do more. And so there's a lot of others, but I just leave it at that. So thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. That was great. Great to hear some of the stories, and great to hear just the different people in your lives that have connected you to be who you are today. Miss Elliott has our next set of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight to celebrate Black History Month. My question is, in your opinion, what can the Stafford community do to respect and celebrate every individual in the diversity that they bring to our lives?
Thank you. I think what would be really important for our community and nationwide really is for us to take a close look at our own biases that we are walking around with. And we would be lying to ourselves if we said that we don't have any bias, because we all do have some bias about something. So it would be good for us to be very retrospective with ourselves in terms of that bias. It would also be a good idea for us to want to learn about other cultures and other diversities. Just having an open mind and an open heart to want to learn about people who do not look like you, who do not speak like you, who do not worship like you, who don't have the same traditions that you have. You could really learn something from that, but you also have to be in a place to want to learn. So having an open mind and an open heart will help.
And I think Mr. Diggs can go because Mr. Cole he's in the middle of a meeting right now, so he's back and forth. So Mr. Diggs, you can go ahead.
I'd like to kind of jump off of what Ms. Jones just said. Part of that is training, and that's diversity training. Fair and impartial policing is something that we do at the sheriff's office to highlight some of those differences in culture and the way that people interact. I think what we're doing now is important, to have conversations, to continue to have these panels where we highlight different facets or parts of the community is important, so that people are aware. Awareness is one of the issues that I think plagues many communities across, or the lack of awareness across the nation. And so I really feel like in Stafford, we are doing a great job of at least being aware that we need more training, we need more interaction. And I see it happening more and more as as a member of the sheriff's office and a member of this community.
Good. It's good info, Mr. Diggs. I would like to add to that, and like I said, everybody knows I'm the neighbor next door. One thing I believe in is getting a grasp of what the youth are talking about. And I'm a big fan of Parks and Rec activities because it brings the entire community together. And you can learn a lot from kids, and you can learn a lot about what's going on. You can learn a lot about, what they're actually dealing with. And I believe that, volunteering and things like that are instrumental to the entire community, no matter where you live, because you get an unfiltered opinion, and it's real from kids. They don't have anything to sugarcoat. They don't have anything to hide. And I believe that if you take time to listen, that everybody can learn. Really, just by volunteering, you can learn so much of how you could help. It's so many things that happen. And if you're not involved, you won't get it. But if you are involved, you know what I'm talking about. So thank you.
Thank you. Some great answers to the question. And it's always, kids were very honest. That's the truth. And sometimes it's very hard to hear things, but that's how we get better. We listen to everything. We take in everything, the positive, the negative, and we learn from it all. So I think from all those answers, I was hearing some of that. So that's really good to hear. Mr. Diggs, you have the next question.
Yes, good evening. I'm really excited to be here with you all, and I really want to thank our guest speakers that are sharing their gifts, talents, experiences, and really their outlook in this new world that we have. And this goes along with my question, is one of the movements that we've had recently is the Black Lives Matter movement. And my question is, the Black Lives Matter movement is important in bringing racial issues to the surface. What does this group mean to you, and how can we support individuals of color in our school community?
Thank you, Mr. Diggs. Just to give a little bit of background about the Black Lives Matter movement, it was born out of the death of Trayvon Martin. And that was actually 10 years ago, if you all can believe that. And so this movement was born out of his death. For me, it's an organization, it's a movement, it's a statement. And I know that when people hear it, for some, it makes them nervous a little bit. But it is something that for myself, I'm going to call myself young, being as young as I am, but what I see happening to our Black men and our Black children, it was a statement that unfortunately had to be made. And it's so very simple. Black lives matter, because it seems like every day when we turn on the TV or listen to the radio, it doesn't seem like our lives matter because somebody died because they went to the store to get Skittles and an iced tea. What I think can help when you see movements like this come up, or any movements that are on the side of right, is to join forces. Movements like the Black Lives Matter movement needs allies, and it needs allies that are in positions of power, that have the voices that people will listen to. I know that there are a lot of opinions about when people riot, but people get to the rioting stage because they have felt like their voices have not been heard. So in order for people to not get to that stage of anger, we need to start listening, and we need to start working together, because it's not about someone having more power than the other. It's about us having power together so that we can all move forward together, not for one to move forward and the other one to stay at the bottom. And Deputy Diggs, I will turn it over to you, because I have learned in watching this presentation.
So when I think about Black Lives Matter, my position has evolved on this. And I think Ms. Jones touched on a few things that I would even highlight. Being a member of law enforcement, I had a different perspective initially when dealing with protests. And you get the rhetoric and you see things on TV and you read things. And so you have this, as a Black man who's a law enforcement officer, you feel this this division with the approach, and so it took some time, some self-reflecting to really look at this and to break it down. I will tell you, with Black Lives Matter, in the beginning, when this movement first started, as within any movement trying to gain traction, I felt excluded as a Black man who's a law enforcement officer, and I also felt excluded as a gay man. And so when you say Black Lives Matter, period, it shouldn't matter whether you have mental disabilities or your sexual orientation or your gender or your profession. And so that part was hard for me. And you saw this movement across the country where Black trans lives matter and those types of things. And what I am proud of, because sometimes we focus on the negative and we don't look at the positive things, is that the Black Lives Matter movement heard that, and they changed the verbiage that they had on their website. They changed their focus. And so I looked at the website. I've been following it over the years. And a year ago or so, there was no inclusion for the LGBTQIA plus community. And that's changed. I looked at it as recent as today. And so making sure that we are inclusive and we're including everyone. And so what I'm most thankful for about the Black Lives Matter movement is that it raised awareness. And that kind of moves right into the second part of the question. A few weeks ago, I'm part of the Rappahannock United Way Diversity and Inclusion Committee. A few weeks ago, during one of our meetings, there was a plan for Black History Month. And a couple of the employees were sitting down to plan who was going to speak, who was going to be engaged. And one of the females said, "Can we pause for a second?" And everybody kind of looked at her like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "We are 3 white women sitting around the table planning Black History Month, and there's no one here, there's no person of color to have a voice." And I think that goes back to Lives Matter movement and the awareness that it has brought. It's amazing that they stopped and that someone had the courage to bring forth that awareness and to say, "Hey, we need to fix this." And they did. And so that story sticks with me. It's something that was very impactful. And I know we're talking about Black History Month, but it cuts across all, are we discussing women issues? And there's no women sitting at the table. So when we talk about that diversity piece, that's, having, all the different people involved. The inclusion piece is you didn't only get invited to the party, you're able to dance. And so that's what Black Lives Matter has meant to me. And then as far as our community and supporting individuals of color, just making sure that everyone understands that they have a voice. We don't always have to agree. We can agree to disagree, but let's focus on, the community and coming together as one. So I know I talked enough, but that's it.
Thank you, and that's a good question. And for me, also being African American man, Black man, for me, it meant that it was a new generation, and I have a son, and him and I talked, and he helped me out with something during the conversation, and he was saying, Dad, it's not the fact of Black Lives Matter, it's the fact that nobody understands that Black Lives Matter too. And he put the two on the end of it, and it made a lot of sense, for me just listening to him. And I said, that's, if that was on the end, I think a lot more people would get it, because there's a lot of people say all lives matter. And I can't believe you're saying it's just about Black lives. What about, my kid? What about me? I don't matter because I'm not Black. And to cut it short, it was the fact that, so many African Americans were looked down upon and treated bad, even when it comes to the justice system and all kinds of things, of sentencing and all kinds of things that needed reform. And the one thing that I like about what happened was people started talking about policy change, and I'm sure Lieutenant Dave can agree to that. People started talking about policy change. It got away from just kind of standing in the street and saying, we're tired of this. It came down to saying, now what is everybody going to do about it? And that's one of the great things I think that came from this. And me having a seat at the table, of policy change is very helpful, to watch the movement happen, while it's happening, and me being a Black man, and then having people say, hey, by the way, Councilman Frye, what's your policy in the city on this? What is this? What is your policy on choking? What is your policy on this? And that was really beneficial. It showed that people were doing their homework and not only talked about it, but they wanted to see the change, and they demanded, and I respect it. And I'm happy to be at the table to address it. That's where it counts. So good question.
Yeah, really good answers. And I hear a lot about, education and getting people of the community to speak out and educating our young people. Because, when this summer and when things were happening, I think people just were watching the news and not really doing a lot of listening and not listening to each other and having those conversations. So I know I heard Councilman Frye say, you matter, and that's something we say every day at Stafford High School. It's something that Mr. Diggs says a lot, but we say you matter, and whether it's Dr. Quinn or Miss Elliott talking to a kid individually, trying to, and we'll admit we're trying to learn the kids, not only their names and who they are, but a little bit about their background and how we can support them. And the more we can help them and know what they've been through, the more successful we are as a school. I have the next question, so I'll go ahead and go to the next question. What do you suggest to our students about getting involved in community movements that make a positive impact and are non-violent? So do you have any suggestions to our students on how they can get involved?
Thanks, Mr. Hicks. For the students, I would first encourage them to do some research about the movement that you want to get involved in, and to make sure that is the actual movement that you want to be a part of, that is following the beliefs that you believe in. And of course, get help from your friends, but also have conversations with your parents, because this is going to be a time when you need to have a discussion with your family that you may not have had before. And this is not going to be a one-time conversation. This may open up an ongoing conversation with your family about a topic that you all have not had an opportunity to address just yet. And understand and realize that you could be on one side of the topic, your family can be on the other side. That is okay. You can disagree without being disagreeable, as long as everybody understands that you're going to still continue to have mutual respect for each other and continue to love each other the same as you did before you even brought up this conversation. I will also encourage you to get involved with youth organizations such as the Youth Council for the NAACP. I definitely know that the Stafford County branch of the NAACP has a youth council. And then from there, if there are other movements or organizations that are at your school to join, I would encourage you to join, even if it's something that you don't really know a whole lot about. This goes back to what I said earlier about educating yourself and having an open mind and an open heart to learn about something that you did not know, or to learn about someone who does not look like you, speak like you, worship like you, have the same cultures that you have. And let's see. And so, Delegate Cole, it's over to you. I feel like an anchor woman.
Well, Ms. Jones pointed some great things that I was going to mention as well. You really want to research and find out what civic organizations are in your community. We have the NAACP Youth Division. There are so many other organizations that are popping up. You have the Rotary Club and different things like that who have youth chapters where you can get involved and they will help you make a voice in your community. And I think what Ms. Jones said was so powerful. Sometimes you may be on the other end of the spectrum than what your family is, and that's okay. Make sure that you are still respecting your families, even though you disagree. And sometimes that can be really hard where we are in America today, but it's extremely important because at the end of the day, sometimes family is the only thing that you have. And so we can agree to disagree. We can continue to look at different things and make sure that you are fighting for what you believe is right and still be respectful. You know, when you get a little bit older and you have your own house, then you can do what you want to do. But we want to make sure that you still have a place to come back and lay your head at night but still fighting for what you believe in as well. Make sure that you're linking up with friends who believe what you believe, and make sure you are encouraging each other because sometimes it's going to be hard. And sometimes your family may not be there to support, but you have some great friends that are going to have your back as well. So do the research and find out what kind of civic organizations that are there. They will help you as it relates to doing events. Sometimes it may not be marching, it may not be protesting. Sometimes it's doing phone banking or writing letters or doing other different things or taking trips, feeding the homeless or repairing a house. It's all these different things that you can do that can help better our community.
And just to springboard off of what both of them have said, I'm going to take it from a different angle. Outside of just movements in general, when you look at the Stafford County Sheriff's Office, we have a cadet program. And I know there are a lot of questions about law enforcement and why do we take certain actions and why do we do certain things. And what I've seen with our cadet program is that a lot of times cadets who are in high school can answer those questions. Well, Mom, this is something that you may not know. Dad, this is something that you may not know. They have a different perspective because they're within the office and they see how we operate. So I know that there is some fear out there amongst the youth about law enforcement. And so I would encourage you not only to get involved in movements and to do things within the community. Don't forget to go by and visit after COVID, the nursing homes and the old folks home. I hope that's the correct way to say that. But we want to be involved in the community as well. But don't forget, if you are afraid of something, the best antidote to that is to get to more knowledge, get involved as much as you possibly can. And if you are interested in that, make sure you talk with your SRO because they have information. Thank you.
Thank you. And my advice, for the youth and how to get involved is simply getting involved and taking your, write down your thoughts, or write down, questions that you have. Reach out to your board of supervisors members. Reach out to those folks. Reach out to the sheriff's department. Reach out for questions. A lot of people may not believe it, but we love getting questions. We love sometimes challenges of the questions of why. But there's a lot of things that go into place when it comes to protesting. And for an example, and for everyone at Stafford, I would love to share this with you guys in the future. But I'm working with a group of kids, well, young adults, let me say, all the graduates of James Monroe High School, and they reached out to me, and we've had dialogue, and we're working on a curriculum called Protest 101. And they threw all these ideas at me about protesting because it was a lot of things though in Fredericksburg were disorganized, and a lot of people had voices, but they didn't know what to do. And there's a group of kids, and I'm giving them help of more or less, hey, I'm sitting at the table, and if this came across my table, this is how I would look at it. So I'm giving them my perspective on their ideas. But one thing I ask them to do is do not take any of your ideas off the table. Like, if it's your idea and you feel passionate about it, you have to keep fighting for it. But long story short, we're working on it's called Protest 101, and what we want to do is send it over to the schools and have them start implementing this curriculum around 7th or 8th grade, getting into civics. And it could be snow days or half a days where the kids can start engaging in Protest 101. And if there's something going on in the future, they already have the guideline of how a protest works, and what the outcome, what are you looking for, and how to present it. So sorry if I was a little long-winded, but that's what's going on my side.
Thank you. Those were all great. What I'm hearing is, a lot about communication, and again, it's just getting our youth involved, all of our youth involved in activities. I know that's one thing. Just hearing that's one thing that it's funny because we'll have students come into Stafford High School, and one of the first things we'll ask them is, how are you helping your community? What are you doing to help? And it's not just about playing a sport or doing an in-school activity. It's about supporting. We talk about it on announcements. It's about not only supporting your community inside the high school, but also you're something of a bigger community, which is Stafford County, then obviously Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg, our area. And what can you do to make it a better place, to make it a kinder place, a better place, and to spread awareness amongst everybody in our community. So those are great. We're going to finish up tonight. I'm going to give everybody the opportunity to go around and just say something that we had some particular questions for you, but just if you have anything you want to add to the discussion tonight, just feel free to add that, and then I'll after everybody's done, I'll wrap it up. So, Miss Jones.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hicks, and thank you to your team for inviting me today and allowing me to participate. I will just wrap up by saying things that I'm working on right now. Mr. Hicks knows this already. I'm an author, and I already have one children's book published, but I'm actually working on a second children's book. And this children's book is going to address racism. It's going to help families to start the conversation about racism, because there are some topics that when we talk with them about our children, they aren't that easy. But I feel like this book will start the conversation, and it will help segue into some other things for some parents, because that is something that I noticed last year when parents wanted to talk with their kids about it, but they did not know where to start. So this book is going to give parents a starting point for this conversation that should be ongoing, as well as other topics. But that is my project for this year, and my hope is to have it published by the end of the year.
Thank you all. First, thank you so much for having us on. I really appreciate being able to be here tonight. I'm trying to multitask, so if you hear session in the background, please excuse me. I just want to let everyone know that, maybe you may not be old enough to get involved in politics. And because this is a school event, I'm not going to talk about partisanship, but this is a big year in Virginia. There's a lot of great elections, and no matter what side of the fence you land on, maybe you can get involved. Find out how you can help out, find out what is being talked about, find out what initiatives are going to be on the ballot this year, and talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your peers, and find out how you can get involved. And outside of that, maybe politics is not your thing, but maybe you want to find out how you can make sure that people are educated no matter what they believe in. Help your friends. For those of you who read and love to get involved in politics, make sure you're telling the good news to your friends. Find out ways that you can help out and share that information because we all need it this time.
There's a few things that I'd like to highlight. The first is just speaking to the youth directly. It's important for me to tell you that you are loved and that you are important. And as we said earlier in the broadcast, that you matter. And oftentimes, I think people get things confused. My power doesn't come from my badge and my gun or my rank. My power comes from standing in my truth and knowing who I am. And so it's really important to accept yourself, to love yourself, and then once you love yourself, you can give it out. When we talk about law enforcement, that's one of my passions, and that's why I spend a lot of time with youth. I want to make sure that people understand that in order to make change, you have to have the knowledge and understanding of what we do. And so it's easier to change from the inside out versus the outside in. And so I know that there are a lot of people who have reservations about law enforcement, but I'm telling you, get involved. We talk about diversity. It's important that at this time where people are like, I don't want to do law enforcement, they don't like Black people, those types of things, it's not helping to change things and to make things better. And so be careful with that broad brush that when we speak and we talk about things. I can tell you, as a part of the Stafford County Sheriff's Office, not only are we diverse and we're trying to become more diverse, but we're inclusive, and everyone has a voice. So, if you're a part of the community and you need to know something, please reach out to us. Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Hicks and the rest of the team for having this event tonight. It's most important, and I hope that you continue to do this in the future for other commemorative events or months. And I think I've been long-winded enough. Thank you.
And I would like to add, first, of course, my thanks to everyone. This was interesting. I wish I was on the screen with everyone. I would like, since this is based at the school, I have to give some credit. I want to do this first, and I want to give credit to a lot of you guys won't know him, but his name was Mr. Chip Suttoff, and he was my civics teacher at James Monroe High School, and he's the reason why I'm on the phone with you guys tonight. Mr. Suttoff was an educator who did not allow you to fail. And he really inspired me by showing me that, I could really pass his class. That's what it was all about. And he used to do open book tests. If you had a low grade, he would let you do a retake with an open book, and he would give you half of your points back. So let's just say your 50 could turn into a 70, or your 70 could turn into a 80. What happened was Mr. Sutter forced me to learn, and I was really interested in civics, but I didn't really care about school at that point in my life, in the 8th grade, 9th grade in civics. And I want to give a shout out to him, just out of respect of all of you educators. On that note, I would just like to leave everyone with this for the students. I want to let you all know that if you don't think it could be you, I want you to know that it can be you. You can be the difference maker. I'm actually living proof of that. I watched Mr. Cole when he was out with his vision, and one thing about it, if you have a vision, folks will line up with your vision when they see your passion. So I just want to leave that to all the students. If you have a passion for something, you go with your passion and don't have anybody try to adjust how you should approach it. And if your plan is good enough, folks will fall in line and support you, and you'll make it to wherever it is in life that you want to go to. So I just want to leave everyone with that, and thanks a lot for the invite. Really, really appreciate it.
Sure thing. And I'll wrap up tonight. I'm really happy that all of you could be here tonight. Each one of you is very special to me. Councilman Frye and I, we went to school together at elementary, middle, and high school. I'm a little bit older than he is, but obviously we played on the football team and everything. So I've known him for a long time. And then he obviously, when I was at Hampton Oaks, he came by the building, and we did just to do a lot of talking and conversating just about anything and everything. So I appreciate him. Mr. Diggs, I appreciate you. Again, I've worked with Mr. Diggs for a while now, working with him, doing some things in the schools. Always a pleasant person to be around. Ms. Jones has worked with me for a long time. She has been a counselor at a building I've worked at. I've seen the amazing things she's done for students and staff and myself in times of need. So Miss Jones is definitely somebody. I'm not at her building anymore, but I definitely miss her and think about her almost on a daily basis, because she's a great counselor, great person. And then Mr. Cole, Delegate Cole, has been very supportive of Stafford County schools and of our students. He was able to visit my former school last year, spent a lot of time talking about kids and what we can do and how we can help students. Had the opportunity to come by Stafford High School a few days ago, just see how the kids are doing. And that's the thing I think is very important about all these people that we're talking about issues tonight and things that have come up, and celebrating each of these individuals. But at the same time, one of the most important things to me is each of these individuals we're talking with tonight, they just care about our community and care about kids. And really just care about everybody. And one thing we talk about at Stafford High School, we've put up on the walls, is kindness. Kindness doesn't make you weaker, it makes you stronger. Caring about somebody doesn't make you weaker, it makes you stronger. And you can be, you can have the roughest day, but if you can run into somebody that has something nice to say, it could not only change your day, it could change your life. So I appreciate all you guys tonight. I appreciate my assistant principals, because if it wasn't for my assistant principals, I don't know what I would do. So again, I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. We're going to send this out to families, and hopefully if some students have some questions, I definitely have your information, and we can get in contact with them. So again, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much.